On November 21st, 1987, Korrina Malinoski, a young mother of three, disappeared from the Mount Holly Plantation in Berkeley County, South Carolina. The 6,000-acre private property where her husband was caretaker was just outside of Charleston. And if that wasn't mysterious enough, less than a year later, Malinoski's 11-year-old daughter, Annette Sagers, also went missing from a bus stop just outside the plantation. Only Annette left a note behind for her stepfather. That note reading, "Dad, Mom came back, and I have to go with her. Give the boys lots of kisses and hugs, and also you too. Love, Annette." Now, more than 30 years after the two disappearances, we're all still left scratching our heads. So join me today while we take a look at not one, but two of the most interesting unsolved cases from right around here in our neck of the woods. The vanishings of Korrina Malinoski and her daughter, Annette Sagers. I'm your host, Andy, and this is Strange and Unexplained. In 1978, Korrina, age 16, found herself pregnant. Choosing to keep the identity of the father private, she chose to raise the child on her own. Fast forward to 1981, when Korrina, now 20 years old, crossed paths with Stephen Malinoski. Stephen, then 32 at the time, had recently departed from the military and was exploring various temporary job opportunities around the country. They met at a carnival where Stephen was employed as a traveling worker. The pair's whirlwind romance led to a marriage just 6 months later in Texas on October 16, 1981. Shortly after getting married, Stephen was hired as a caretaker at the Mount Holly Plantation in Berkeley County, South Carolina, and the family of three relocated there in 1982. The historic plantation spawned over 6,000 acres of swamps and wetlands, and it was just 30 miles from Charleston. Korrina went on to find herself a job at the Oasis convenience store in nearby Summerville, and in the same year, the couple had their first son, Thomas. And just 2 years later, in 1984, their second son, James, joined the family as well. However, over time, Stephen and Korrina's marriage had become increasingly strained. Stephen struggled with substance abuse, leading to frequent arguments, primarily centered around Stephen's excessive drinking and his financial spending. There were also reports of Stephen being physically abusive towards Korrina, prompting her brother to urge his sister to leave her husband and offering his support if she would. But unfortunately, Korrina ultimately decided to stay. According to Stephen, on November 21st, 1987, the day when Korrina went missing, there was an argument triggered by Stephen's drinking. Korrina, in frustration, left the Mount Holly Plantation to take a drive towards Highway 52 around 11 p.m. to 11:30. However, as the night went on, there was no sign of Korrina. The following day, Korrina did not show up for work at the Oasis convenience store, which was highly unusual behavior for her. Concerned, her boss Bruce Clarkson initiated a search for her, initially checking her residence where her car was parked and locked outside the gated entrance to the plantation. However, Korrina was nowhere to be found in or around the vehicle. Bruce did, however, note a layer of dew had spread across the car, suggesting it hadn't moved overnight. And after neither Bruce nor her husband could seemingly locate Korrina, a missing persons report was filed by Stephen, after which he then contacted Korrina's brother to alert him of her disappearance as well. The case of Korrina would have come to a standstill due to a lack of substantial leads had it not been for the events that had transpired the following year. On October 4th, 1988, just 11 months after her mother's disappearance, Annette Deanne Sagers went to her bus stop on Highway 52 with her dog, dressed in red pants, a red shirt, and white shoes, as she did almost every day. At around 7 a.m., the bus driver observed a young girl waiting patiently at the bus stop across the road from where he made another stop on the opposite side of the train tracks. Now, there were no other children present at this particular stop, leading us all to believe that it was indeed Annette. However, when the bus driver returned to that bus stop about 20 minutes later, the girl he had very clearly seen was no longer there. Despite the area not being heavily trafficked at the time, there were still people around who would have seen something suspicious. Yet no one witnessed Annette being picked up or leaving on foot. And despite an extensive search of the bus stop and immediate area, It appeared as though she had vanished without a trace. Annette's stepfather, Stephen, did not realize she was missing until around 4 p.m. that day, when she failed to return home in the afternoon, and only later discovered that she had not even made it to school that day. Upon realizing Annette was missing, however, Stephen quickly set out on his own in a search for his stepdaughter, but then discovered a crumpled note on school binder paper. The note was found placed inside the small wooden hut that Stephen had built for Annette outside the bus stop near the plantation. Written on the paper, filled with additions and words that were crossed out, read, "Dad, Mom came back. Give the boys lots of hugs and kisses, and also you too. Love, Annette." Roughly at around 4:15 p.m., Stephen reported Annette missing and gave the note over to law enforcement. Handwriting analysis later confirmed that the note was indeed written by Annette based on handwriting samples provided by her teacher. However, it could not be determined if the note was composed under stress or in her free time. Strangely, Annette's dog, which she had walked to the bus stop with, was also missing and never located. Extensive searches of the plantation and surrounding area, both on foot and from the air, yielded no trace of Annette or her missing dog, almost mirroring the lack of evidence in her mother's initial apparent vanishing. Following their disappearances, there has been no contact or sightings of Korrina or Annette, and there hasn't been any substantial evidence uncovered regarding to what may have happened to the mother and daughter. A letter that was sent anonymously to the local police department in 2000 alleged that Korrina and Annette had been buried in Sumter County, South Carolina, along with a specific map that pinpointed the supposed site. Authorities conducted a thorough search of the specified area based on this map, but unfortunately no trace of the bodies were ever located. Many who investigate this case typically find that Stephen was at least in some way responsible for the disappearances of Korrina and Annette. However, it appeared, though, as he was able to conceal his involvement effectively enough to evade all of the police's investigations. The family members of Korrina and Annette are some of the ones who share this view, however, as her brother and 2 sons have publicly expressed their belief that Stephen definitely played a role in their disappearances. For numerous years, the case appeared to be at a standstill. With a lack of substantial evidence and no trace of Korrina, Annette, or their remains, investigators believed that it was an unsolvable case. However, in 2018, more than 3 decades after the disappearances of Annette and Korrina, 2 officers at the Berkeley County Police Department made the decision to dive deep into cold cases within the region. Lieutenant Cokinda and Detective Lewis decided to revisit Korrina and Annette's case, putting in countless hours of investigation since reopening it. The pair have been approaching the situation as a homicide investigation, with both expressing strong beliefs that the mother and daughter did not leave the 6,000-acre property. Their investigation has yielded no evidence indicating Korrina and Annette are still alive, however, with one officer emphasizing that due to the passage of time and lack of contact with the family, the case is being treated as a serious incident. During their investigation, Lieutenant Cokinda and Detective Lewis discovered that in the 1990s, a pond on the Mount Holly Plantation property was drained for maintenance. And during that time, they found a rolled-up carpet tied with an electrical cord in the bottom of the pond. Although the plantation's new caretaker reported this discovery to the authorities, it was not investigated in connection with Korrina and Annette's cases, nor was it tested for evidence. The detectives suspect that the carpet may have been related to the case, possibly serving as the hiding place for Korrina or Annette's body. The pond where the carpet was found is secluded and not easily accessible, likely only known to the groundskeeper. Unfortunately, the carpet was disposed of, so its connection to the disappearances remains unconfirmed. Lieutenant Cokinda and Detective Lewis had divers searching the pond, but no additional evidence was ever uncovered. As of today, the trail has appeared to go cold, as there have been no public updates on the case since 2019. And now one can only hope that a breakthrough will occur one day, providing some answers on the disappearances of Korrina or Annette. It's been over 30 years now, and their family members are still left in the dark, uncertain of what may have happened to their loved ones. Did the mother run away from a dangerous situation, only to return a year later for her daughter? Or did something more nefarious happen to the pair, and they never actually left the grounds of the Mount Holly Plantation? We hope that one day, time will give us those answers. But there you have it, folks. The incredibly mysterious and confusing disappearances of Korrina Malinoski and Annette Sagers, a mother and daughter who seemingly vanished nearly a year apart from each other just outside the South Carolina plantation where they lived. We hope you've enjoyed this episode, and if you have, please check out all our other shows here on the TCG network. Also, check out our YouTube channel, where you can see videos just like this one and many others. And of course, please like and subscribe for more content just like this almost daily. And if you'd like to show your support, please check out our Patreon at patreon.com/truecrimeguys. That's patreon.com/truecrimeguys, where you can get access to these episodes and so much more early and ad-free. But until next time, be strange. Just don't be strangers. Bye.